Did you know the start finish line at Talladega is actually closer to the entry of turn one and not in the trioval? I know. Wild. This was my first NASCAR race, and I was watching today, and the start finish line was just in this random place, and I just don't know why that. Why did Talladega decide to do that? It's very unique, I guess. But I was, as a new race fan, I was very confused, and I'm glad that Fox and NBC over the course of the weekend was able to tell me that the start finish line is not in the normal position, and it is closer to turn one. Maybe they should move it to the trioval so it's normal, and we don't have to make it a talking point. I don't know. I don't know. Jokes aside, Talladega, guys, was today a very interesting race. One that I found fascinating from the beginning of stage one and the end of stage one being 4 wide, 7 deep, and I genuinely thought it was 2012 again when Tony Stewart was about to go flipping. Luckily, Chase Briscoe did not recreate that. And then stage two comes around, and again, it's kind of like this kind of strategy play, and then it's kind of this 2 wide battle. And then the final stage is essentially everyone running in position 3 wide the entire way deep, the entire field deep. But they ran there for like 40 laps without changing positions, and everyone was just kind of saving fuel and running 2 seconds off of the pace until they decided to then hit the throttle. And then, it kind of being what these next gen plate races are, where it is, 2 lines or 3 lines, whatever amount of lines you want. Let's not do the other version of lines. We don't want to be talking about that. Don't do drugs, kids. But then it all kicked off with officially the biggest wreck in NASCAR history, that's what NBC was saying. The big one. 28 cars officially, categorized to be involved in the wreck. And so I think that is the largest wreck in NASCAR history in terms of, the amount of cars in one crash. And it all came from the front bumper of Brad Keselowski. If you told me I had to bet on, what front bumper of what car would the big one be caused by, it was either going to be Brad Keselowski or Joey Logano. And actually, both of them kind of caused it. So, hey, I wish there was a bet somewhere I could have done that bet, because I would have made a lot of money. And the playoff picture heading into the next round, quickly it looks like this. And you can see that it's actually not all that, stressful or exciting, honestly, heading into the Roval, because 3 of the guys in the bottom are basically already out. And then you have, like a little battle for that 8th position. But I don't think it's going to be a lot of drama, honestly, heading into the Roval. We'll explain that at the end of the video. I want to give a shout out to all the Patreon members at the beginning right now. Thank you guys so much for your support. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. And thank you guys, as always, for supporting the channel. If you want to support the channel, make sure you check the links in the description down below. And let's talk about the race today. What did you think of the race today in the comments down below? I thought it was a really good Talladega race. And it's just what this next-gen racing is. I kind of know what it is, and you kind of expect with the very heavy drag that what you're going to get. And as Denny Hamlin says on his podcast, it's a track position race, and it really is. It is very difficult to make your way up through this field if you don't qualify well. If you are at the back and basically you're not in a Ford, it's almost impossible. The Fords pretty much dominated this race, whether it be Chris Buescher, Michael McDowell, Austin Cindric, Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Todd Gilliland, Keselowski. If you were in a Ford, you were up front one way or another. It's just they are so strong. And like I always say, they are the only car out of, the 3 manufacturers that have what I would call it, the aggressive, bump draft. They're the only ones that can do it. There was a moment that I think it was Ryan Blaney and Austin Cindric on the outside lane basically drove by like 6 cars in the middle and the bottom lane. Like it was insane. No Chevy and no Toyota can do what they do. You can't lock up to the back bumper of another car like the Ford can. So the Fords are, and because of that, I feel like they know that, and because of that, I think they're able to trim out their cars a little bit more. Maybe that's why we see front row always on the front row in qualifying, and the Ford's always very strong in qualifying as well. They're able to do things with the car set up and just and trim out the car in a way where they're able to maximize everything that they can because their front bumper is so smooth and because they know that they can do that aggressive push. So it was no surprise throughout the entire day that the Fords were the strongest. We knew that was going to happen. It was going to be all about how does everyone else counteract that? Would the Toyotas and the Chevys kind of work together and try to counteract that? And I didn't really see a lot of the Toyotas and the Chevys necessarily working together. What I did see is them trying to separate the Fords, especially on the green flag pit stops. And again, the green flag pit stops are probably the most interesting part of the stages. And by the way, if you are not a fan of stage racing, this is the race that really should prove to you that NASCAR desperately needs stage racing. I actually can't imagine 188 laps at Talladega anymore without stage racing. I know I watched plenty of Talladega races, all 188 laps of them, but I truly cannot imagine this package where they're saving fuel to endless extents and you don't have stage racing. It would be some of the worst racing I've ever seen because no one would, they would just be a fuel mileage race from the start all the way to the finish, and that would be terrible. So if you are not a fan of stage racing, you need to thank God that it is here, and it is one of the best things NASCAR has done over the last 20 years is the introduction of stage racing. Because of the stage racing, that is why you had the 4 wide, 7 rows deep in the end of stage 1, and it's just funny with this car. There's just nowhere to go. It's kind of weird. You think about it like, oh, I can move, but the drag is so heavy on this race car that once you pull out a line and you hit that wall of air, it stops you. Literally. It is literally like hitting a brick wall. And if you do not have 2, 3, 4, 5 cars go with you, then there is no hope. There is no getting a run on the car in front of you, then pulling out and keeping that run going. You need multiple race cars, and it's just a numbers game. However many cars are in your line is really how fast you're going to go, depending on, how aggressive you want to be as well. The end of stage 1, I actually think was the best part of this race. The aggressiveness, the intensity of the playoff drivers trying to get those stage points. Saw Larson involved in it, Bell involved in it, Cindric involved in it, Ryan Blaney was involved in it. All of them trying to get stage points. Denny Hamlin flimbering in the back of the pack, trying to get up there. He qualified top 10, but then fell back to 40th within 4 laps because he got taken 4 wide and got left out. So it was just very fascinating to see the end of that stage 1 and also the end of the stage 2. And that is where we had one of the really big incidents involving, why does it always happen to this guy? Ryan Blaney hitting the wall head on yet again at a plate race. I mean, this guy hits the wall so hard at these plate races, and it's always him. There are 39 other cars in the field that can hit the wall like that, and it's always Ryan Blaney. And it's never his fault, really. This one could have been a little bit his fault. He made a move entering the trial that was a little bit questionable, and what stalled him, and then he ended up getting wrecked. But still, out of all, I can remember at Daytona literally 3 other times him hitting the wall head on. So it's just very, I feel bad for him. Eventually, this is going to take a toll on him. Man, stop hitting the wall head on. And he has Alex Bowman and Kyle Larson and the Hendrick guys behind him just steaming up through the middle on the final lap through the tri-oval of stage 2. And all these guys are trying to get playoff points. And if you look at the replays, Alex Bowman does try checking up, so I'm not going to blame Alex Bowman for this. And then Larson, I can't see who's behind Larson, but I'm assuming maybe someone, Larson trying to check up as well. I don't know. But it's kind of unrealistic to think they're going to check up that much when if they check up too much, they're going to lose 3 positions. And again, everyone is fighting for these stage points. At the end of the day, it does not hurt Blaney that much. I mean, he does get a terrible result, yes, and he still finished 8th in stage 2. He got stage points in stage 1. So it's not the worst thing in the world, especially where everyone else finished. He's plus 25 above the cut line, so it's not the worst thing for Ryan Blaney. And he's okay. And then the final stage comes around, and again, everyone is it's 3 wide, but everybody's waiting. It's just a waiting game. Fuel, you want to save as much fuel as possible for your final pit stop so you don't have to stay on pit road for too long, because that's where the race is actually won. It's won on the green flag pit stop. It's won on basically trying to get in and off pit road as well as possible, and then snaking your way through or blocking the drivers coming through as everyone merges back together. That is where this race is won and lost. And it looked like guys like Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Chase Elliott, those guys in the Chevy crew, William Byron as well, Kyle Larson, they did very well. And then on the Ford side of things, Austin Cindric, Austin Cindric, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, they did very well on the Ford side. And it is Ford versus Chevy, and they're battling it out. And it's just 2 lanes. It's just 2 lanes, and they're pushing, and no one can make a 3rd lane because everyone's full throttle, and simply the 3rd lane will not come up. So You're just waiting to see what happens, and then that is when the big one happens. I think they were lapping Todd Gilliland, who got a speeding penalty on the final pit stop. So Todd Gilliland's fallen all the way back, and Cindric gets a big push from Keselowski, and it kind of sends him all the way out there. And then as everyone is lapping Gilliland, the bottom row, Logano, and everyone, Logano, Keselowski, they start getting this run, this very big run. They all getting condensed, and they all start coming forward. And Cindric is, on the bottom lane, and he's gonna have to take the shot. And Keselowski gets a big shot from behind, but Keselowski just does not square up. I mean, he does the worst thing possible. He's turning left as he's getting to the rear bumper of Cindric, and just does not hit him square at all. He hits him pretty hard and hits him at a little angle. And poor Austin Cindric, there's literally nothing he could do. The second Keselowski hit him, Cindric was gone. He was absolutely gone. It's just straight up to the side of Ricky Stenhouse Jr., right in front of Keselowski, or right in front of Chase Elliott, and the big one happens, and the entire field is collected in this, including lots of playoff drivers. And this would actually bring lots of controversy, because there were like 10 cars parked on the inside of the Turn 3 infield, basically, and this is the next-gen car issue. Rodney Childress on Twitter has a field day with this. He despises how NASCAR runs this, in terms of the rule of, Ryan Blaney had this issue last week where, if your car has flat tires and it has to get towed back, you might be able to get towed back to pit lane, or you might be towed back to the garage or something. I don't know. It's a rule it's a headache, and it's because of the race car. And when you have multiple guys that are just stopped with flat tires and they can't move because the car is on the ground because of the flat tires, but they don't want to put the window net down because then that means you're out of the race. And then again, you have this other rule where you're out of the race if you can't drive the car back. It's just, it is overcomplicated. Back in my day, there were simpler times where you got towed back to the garage or something, and if you were in the garage, you could repair your car, and then even if you were 100 laps down and it took you an hour and a half to repair your car, you can still come back out on the racetrack and make laps and try to gain positions. NASCAR didn't want that anymore, because of safety. They don't want parts flying off of cars. I don't know. Whenever NASCAR started this, I don't know the exact year they started this, but the damage clock, and again, just it seems so complicated and overcomplicated. And basically what happens here is you have drivers in the playoffs that, like Chase Briscoe, like Chase Elliott, that are refusing to put their window net down because they want to get towed back to pit lane. And then there are other drivers that also want to get towed back to pit lane, but if they put the window net down, they're out of the race. And there's only so many of the tow trucks, and it becomes chaos. And I was looking at the race results, and Chase Elliott's 5 laps down, Chase Briscoe 6 laps down. So then it actually, what happens is you need NASCAR to prioritize who to tow first. And all this plays a part into points, and every point matters, and it is such a mess. It is so overcomplicated and nonsensical, and it's like NASCAR just keeps shooting themselves in the foot. They just create these problems that are so unnecessary, and it's really pissing off race teams and drivers, like it did to Ryan Blaney as well, because they need to get out there and compete for a championship. And it's just chaos. It is pure chaos. Back to the wreck itself. Like I said, Keselowski, Logano, they were pushing. It's not a surprise. We have seen so many drivers wreck off the front bumper of Brad Keselowski. I know it's not 100% his fault, and he had a run, and there was really not much he could do about it. But the thing is, it's like saying Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is not aggressive at plate races. It's not true. We have seen so many cars. So I can't even, there are so many examples, I can't bring them all up, because it feels like it happens almost every year. At least one plate race every single year, Keselowski will have someone wreck off of his front bumper. At a certain point, it's because of the driver. It's because of how aggressive they are. We know this about Keselowski and Logano. They are and have always been two of the most aggressive race car drivers at plate tracks. The two of the most aggressive blockers at plate tracks. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. as well. And so it's not a surprise. I'm not saying what Keselowski did was wrong. I'm just saying that's the facts of the matter. And once you saw the wreck and it was like, oh, it was off, Logano pushing Keselowski into Cindric. It's like Ford's worst nightmare. They are so fast and they are so aggressive and they are able to win this race at any time. And then they end up wrecking themselves. And that is what they did. You had Ford pushing a Ford, wrecking a Ford that took out 28 other cars, including all the other Fords. So, yeah. And then a Chevy won because of it. And then the end of the race, yeah, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Brad Keselowski, because of Keselowski again. That's the thing. That's the thing about those wrecks in this race car specifically. If the wreck is off of your front bumper, you actually usually make it through the wreck unscathed. It happens all the time. And so, yeah, Keselowski's getting pushed from Larson, and Byron is pushing Stenhouse. And again, everyone's just in line. You can't really make a move. And Stenhouse wins in a photo finish. It sounds kind of like I'm not hyping it up because it's kind of predictable. Again, you can't make a move in this car. You have to stay in line. Once you pull out and you hit that air, you're dead. Like, it's over. So you have to stay in line. And yeah, a nice photo finish. It was a good race overall. A lot of interesting points. A lot of controversy with the playoff points and everything. And yeah, so let's pull up the playoff standings first, because that is the most important thing. And you can see, as I'm going to pull it up on my phone real quick, you can see that it is very interesting. So, guys that are advanced. William Byron he didn't win, but he is mathematically advanced. He was like plus 70 or something, so mathematically advanced. Christopher Bell, you're advanced. Congratulations. Kyle Larson, you're advanced. Congratulations. Denny Hamlin, running 32nd, by the way, before that big wreck. He was, I think, right on the cut. No, he was like minus 11. He was minus 11 behind 8th place, running in 32nd. He is again, same strategy that, he didn't purposely want to run in the back, but again, the Toyota's not as fast. And Denny Hamlin never had the good enough car, honestly, to compete for the win today. So he ended up losing the lead draft, and he was in the back with Ty Gibbs and everything. So that big wreck helps out Denny Hamlin. I think he finished in the top 10. He's plus 30. Again, you're not advanced, but just run 20th at the Roval and you're basically fine. So yeah, that's basically it. And the reason is because that's plus 30 to Joey Logano. And then you see Daniel Suarez, Austin Cindric, and Briscoe are minus 32, minus 29, and minus 20. And guys, those are the guys that you expect to get eliminated. Cindric, Briscoe, and Suarez. Like, I'm sorry, but I would be shocked if any one of those guys are dominating the Roval and leading the most laps and end up winning. I don't see it happening. Maybe yes, Chase Briscoe. Maybe yes, Daniel Suarez. If Austin Cindric ever wants to actually be the road course racer that everyone says he is and actually qualify well and then lead laps, that'd be nice, but that does not happen. So yeah, no, probably not. So we'll see how that goes for them. Alex Bowman continuing his good playoffs, decent race. He had a really good race today, to be fair. He was unlucky to not get stage points on stage 2. He was kind of leading or pushing that bottom lane for the majority of the end of stage 2, and then he fell back. He ended up not getting stage points because of that, which was kind of a shame for him. But Alex Bowman's having a great playoff run. He is plus 26. Ryan Blaney gets away with the wreck again today, plus 25. Tyler Reddick, he was actually below the cut line a lot today because, again, the Toyotas just suck at these plate races. But he ends up being plus 14, heading to a road course. It's good for Reddick. Elliott, plus 11 before today, plus 13. He is on the cutoff line, but plus 13 for Chase Elliott. Heading to a road course, you have to feel comfortable. And it really will be a battle between Elliott, Logano, and Reddick, I feel like. That's going to be the battle. And if you had to pick, the best of the road course racers, it will be Elliott and Reddick. They just tend, not only that they're better than Logano at road courses, I think they are, but I think the package, Penske seems to struggle a little bit more at road courses. We've seen Logano struggle, I think, this year at the road courses. And yes, Elliott is not the same as he used to be at road courses, and maybe neither is Tyler Reddick, but those two are still, I think, the driver makes a big difference. And I feel like the driver is going to make a big enough difference to just enough, qualify top 15 for the Roval, and then get stage points and stuff like that, and that's going to be fascinating to watch. Suarez, Cindric, and Briscoe, in my opinion, all must win situations for all of them. And so the Roval is up next, and guys, that is going to be, here's my best comparison. It's going to be like Monaco. So you are going to want to clear your Saturday, whenever qualifying is. The qualifying session for the Roval will be more important than the race that you watch on Sunday. Do not go into Sunday expecting a good race. You are not going to get a good race at the Roval with the next gen car. It is going to be boring. There will be no passing, and it's just going to be about, do I take the stage points or do I not? If I take the stage points, there's no way on God's green earth I'm going to get back to the lead. So guys that are not in the playoffs, Ross Chastain, Ty Gibbs, Martin Truex Jr., they need to be able to take advantage of this and just pit during the stages and hopefully try to win the race, and hope maybe some of the playoff guys stay out during the stages. This race will literally be like Monaco. Qualifying will be the most important part of the weekend. Where you qualify will determine where you finish, and based off the strategy as well. They made a change to the Roval. They removed, that little, thing, I don't remember, but when you get onto the banking of turn one, it was kind of like this rhythm section, where I think it was Kevin Harvick basically dumped Chase Elliott all those years ago in the Gen 6 car. They removed that, and they've turned it into like an insanely sharp, heavy braking zone little left-hander that goes on a turn one. I think what they're thinking is, this race car is just so bad, let's just create the heaviest braking zone possible to see like if we can create passing. All I see happening is the accordion effect. So as they come out of that corner, they're just going to spread out, because that corner, the radius of the corner looks so tight that once they come out of there, the field is just going to spread out. And so it's like the corner was literally designed for chaos. That's what they're looking for. They want wrecks. They want crashes. And it's not going to happen. It is not. They're going to, everyone's going to run, how they do. The brakes on this car is fantastic. The dirty air will be the dirty air. And yeah, so I'm not looking forward to next week. It's just going to be about the cutoff line. I had that same feeling about Bristol. Bristol was not the best of races. We all saw that. It was it was the lowest rated Bristol race of all time. In terms of like fan, appreciation via Jeff Gluck's poll. The Roval is going to be similar, so that's very frustrating. But hey, we had a great race at Talladega, so that's great. And then the final round, the round of 8, is going to be pretty interesting as well, with some pretty good racetracks. So we'll see how that goes. Let me know what you think in the comments down below with the results. Congratulations to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on winning the race. He is very aggressive, but he ran a very good race today. He didn't do anything stupid. He wasn't too aggressive. Just a really good race. And Chevy comes out on top after the Fords kind of just self-capitulated with 5 laps to go. So take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram already. Subscribe if you're new. And I will see you guys tomorrow for another video. And hopefully you enjoyed your weekend. Take care of yourselves. Peace out.